Is this thing on? We are live. What is happening, everybody? All right, so time for a Mopar Chat Live late night edition. So the time change is hit. So that basically means that by default, half of us are all going to be pretty much insomniacs for about the next 6 weeks. Yeah, enjoy your fumbling around in the morning trying to remember where you put things while you're in a freaking Twilight Zone like haze. Whoever came up with this concept is a freaking lunatic as far as I'm concerned. Pick a time, stick with the time, and quit fucking with the rest of us. Anyway, this is a late night edition. If y'all don't know basically the format on the late nights, it kind of works out like this. It's a little bit more colorful than a typical live chat. You know, I'll be talking about things that really don't have a lot to do with Mopar stuff, talking about automotive stuff in general, just some stuff that's a little bit out of the norm. You know, so make sure the kids are tucked away. At any rate, getting to it, got a few folks already checking in. Sam's checking in. What up, Sam? Good stuff, Sam. What's up, buddy? What's up? Good. So here's the thing. Eventually, once this thing catches up, I've got a quick kind of a my thoughts type of a thing on the GT500. Basically, it's more or less my continuing frustration with the GT500, the way that it sits. You know, I got to tell you, it's that people at Ford have absolutely, man. Look, let me tell you guys something. You guys know that if you've watched a lot of my videos or hung out with me on the live chat, y'all know how much of a big fan I am of Ford stuff. I mean, it's where I cut my teeth. It's where I learned basically most of everything that I do know from a hands-on perspective. Engine building or porting or camshaft specification, dyno tuning, the whole bit, I learned it with a Ford, right? So when the GT500 was being courted out there, I was one of the most excited people you could have ever dreamed up. I mean, I'm just all like, you get me about this, because all I was envisioning was GT500, meaning blown 4-valve engine with maybe an automatic transmission, a real automatic transmission. Oh, wait, there's the 10-speed. Oh, my God, are we going to get a built 10-speed backing up that freaking 4-valve blown V8? This thing's going to be nasty, low 10 seconds with 9s easily to attain. But Ford drops it with his DSG transmission that, I've said this before and I'll say it again, only a journalist could love, and has basically shackled the enthusiast with an overpriced, mind you, a $20,000 transmission is what we're talking about here. You've got 20 grand worth of transmission in a car that if it had a $7,000 transmission in it, it would be running almost half a freaking second faster in the quarter mile on a tire. So anyway, that's going to be coming out. But I guess what I'm getting at right now is how frustrating it is, how frustrating it must be to be a dyed-in-the-wool Ford guy, to know that they could have done it this way, but they did it a different way. And before anybody starts trying to say, oh, well, it's this much better or that than a regular automatic or what, you don't know what you're talking about. The second anybody tries to defend that DSG transmission, it becomes very clear that they've never taken a car down a drag strip and that they don't have any clue what it's like to spend any real time in a car that makes that much torque, especially at tip-in, with a true manual transmission. It is painfully obvious that anybody that starts defending that transmission doesn't know the fuck they're talking about. So anyway, that's kind of the gist of the video. Of course, the video is a little bit less like that about it, but it's funny too because it actually kind of got cut off at one point. Or it was about to get cut off, and I had to like wrap it up really quick. So there's that on that Mopar chat, but anyway, or on that particular video. So what I wanted to get into here's some of the questions that I've been getting lately as far as combinations and what have I seen that's worked well, and kind of the issues that I've seen with combinations that guys have put together that didn't work that great. So before I get into that, let me go in here, say what's up to everybody. We got Sam coming in. Derek's in saying, what's going on, B? What's up, Derek? White Knuckle saying, what up, B? What up, Miss Revlon? There she is, all hanging out. Yep, she's got her street shoes on. So I've got to get that bad girl cleaned up too, by the way. White Knuckles asking, anything in the works? Kinda. Not. I wouldn't say if it's works, but the Gen 3 Camaro is going to be next. So I'll start tickling that thing here soon. Sam's 1 a.m.'s around the corner. Yeah, it is. It is late night edition for sure. Again, here come the insomniacs. Let's see. Zero was saying, I rode the Brown Tiger for 20 years. Pretty fun. Zero, I don't know what you're trying to get to, brother. I am not that literary. Let's see. White Knuckles saying, yeah, I was hoping the same. Wish they did. Talking about the GT 500. Sam saying he'll stick with his 4-speed auto. And Alex is saying the GT 350 is the only Mustang worth buying right now. Drove one, fantastic car, tons of fun. Couldn't have put it better myself. In fact, I am on record as saying how much I think that the GT 350, what I'm telling you, they snuck into my house, took my measurements, put those measurements into a computer, and then made the GT 350 around me. That car fit me like it was tailor-made. I love that car, which brings me to my next point about the GT 500 versus GT 350. Did everybody forget that they make the GT 350? And at the same time, getting back to the conversation, by the way, and at the same time, because all this talk has been about the GT 500, but here's the thing. Did everybody forget that the journalists and every other thing that we were being told about the GT 350, that it's the next best thing to free ass, is what we were all supposed to be buying, that it was a Nürburgring killer, that there was nothing on a closed circuit that could come anywhere close to this thing, that the ZL1s were all running for the hills, scared for their lives because of this GT 350. Now, all of a sudden, the GT 500 shows up and nobody can remember the GT 350. And if you own a GT 350, where are you at in all of this? Yeah, everybody was talking about, well, the GT 350 is not a drag car and all this other shit. Jesus, it's a freaking Mustang, for crying out loud. Every time I go to the drag strip, there are at least 24 Mustangs running around there. The GT 350 would be sick to death with a 410 or a 430 gear swap, a drag pack, and a competent driver. That thing is that setup away from going 10s. And I mean into the 10s. But again, it's not a drag car, right? Get real. We were doing stuff like that with clapped out shit like 96 Cobras that should have been scrapped a decade before we were playing with them. So anyway, that car's got plenty in it. The funny thing is that I'm a lot more impressed when people do things with the GT 350 than I think I'll ever be with the GT 500, only because I know the potential was there for the GT 500. And getting back to it, that whole being shackled by the cost of the GT 500 with a I'm going to remind you all of this every chance I get, a $20,000 DSG transmission that has the potential to go into clutch over temp mode, which is basically a limp mode. When you take it to the drag strip, it soft launches like you wouldn't believe, because it's tuned to launch the thing on street tires. Again, woulda, coulda, shoulda, and ifs, right? But if that thing had a true torque converter transmission, it would be 13 grand less in terms of cost. Way ahead of the curve in terms of tuning and familiarity. And to that point would be at least half a second quicker. I mean, you'd be looking at 10.1, 10.2 in the quarter mile, at least on a wheel and tire setup, stock boost. Oh, wait. I'm doing that with my car. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. Look, at least it would be as fast as a stock Hellcat with a 309 gear. Look, in all seriousness, the car basically got its nuts clipped, and that is a major shame. They basically made a car that only a journalist could love, and only somebody well-heeled enough to be able to afford the thing can swing it. Look, that thing is $80,000 the way that it sits. And yeah, I know you can get one for around 75 or something like that, but you're still going to be paying an added tag. And I'm sorry, but you got to throw that cost into the mix. And that cost is going to be there for the foreseeable future, right? Throw in your added tag, and now you're looking at 80 grand. Even if you left that 80 grand hanging out there for 13 grand less, for in the 60s, okay, you're looking at $67,000-ish if it had just the automatic in it. Are you kidding me? That would be the sale of the century. $60,000 for a car. Oh, and by the way, that's still including 5 grand on the added tag. Strip that away, and you're in the low 60s. Dude, that how do you not? I mean, that would be, everybody would own one at that point. Everybody would be running damn near 9s, and everybody would be praising that car. And Ford would have reclaimed their place as the bad boy on the block. The place that, let me remind you guys, they more or less invented. That position was more or less invented, or at least kept alive by Ford throughout the dark ages, or at least the dark ages as it pertains to Chevrolet and Mopar in terms of big bad boy performance, starting around 2000 and, I don't know, when was the 3rd gen or the 4th gen chopped off? 2002? So from 2002 to 2008, we didn't have anything to talk about. But yet in 2005, we had the GT500 with absolutely no contender, leading up to what? The ZL1? So yeah, I would say that Ford deserves that crown, and they deserve to take it back, but not like this. And the problem is that they're not really taking it back. They're not claiming it. They're not making it their own. They're trying to do something that's a little bit too artsy-fartsy, in my opinion, with that DSG. They pumped up the cost of the thing to an absurd number. They pumped up the complexity of it to an absurd number, to an absurd level. It just doesn't make any sense. And let me remind you guys, look, I get it. Complexity does not necessarily mean that it's more apt to break. Also, simplicity doesn't mean that it's more reliable. But the overwhelming fact here is that a built 10R80 or whatever the thing is called now is known to be a fairly stout transmission, and it's well within Ford's reasonable limits to be able to build one that will handle that kind of horsepower and torque that the GT500 is making. The ZL1 is doing it, and it seems to be doing it just fine. So again, circling back around to my continuing level of disappointment with Ford and all things that are GT500, I certainly hope that at some point they release a car that is really worthy of the name, and put the journos in the backseat on this deal. Let it be made for an enthusiast that can basically keep that legend alive, more or less, if that makes any sense. And if it's wrong to, I don't know, to second guess this DSG thing, let me just, I don't know, direct you to check out anything on, I don't know, YouTube's or any of the other forum sites where guys are complaining about the clutches overheating, or just the overall, I don't know, the issues that they're running into at the drag strip, which, by the way, is a very important part of this conversation. And that'll tell you all you need to know about where this car sits. Just watch the thing launch. Now, getting back to that whole drag racing thing, look, drag racing is the ultimate grassroots racing sport. You can talk all you want about closed circuit, and I get it. I was big into closed circuit, especially with my motorcycles. I loved, my home track when I lived in Northern California was Thunder Hill. Love it. That's great if you're into that kind of thing. But most guys aren't, and most guys don't have the time or the money to devote to closed circuit racing and the expense in tires, the expense in fuel. It's a lot more expensive than drag racing. Anybody can go drag racing with any car at any given track, 1/8 mile, 1/4 mile, it don't matter. So the thing is that does drag racing matter? Well, shit, why don't you ask Dodge? Just look no further than Mopar. That'll tell you all you need to know of how important drag racing is to a marketing image. to an American image, to an American, a wholly American created endeavor. Any Mopar commercial is either going to show one of these things sliding around a corner, or more than anything, it's going to be a print ad with this car sitting at the drag strip doing a burnout or waiting to launch. Dodge has done an amazing job marketing their vehicles in that drag racing guise. Unfortunately, Ford never even thought to do that. And that, again, is what's killing me, especially in light of the fact, by the way, that you've got the Cobra Jet platform that's sitting out there. That entire program has been a world-beating platform now for years. I mean, it's been Cobra Jet and Drag Pack just going at it. How they missed the ball on this is freaking beyond me, especially given the fact that they've got the GT350 to sit back on. Could you imagine how awesome the GT350 would have been with the dual clutch transmission, by the way? Anybody even thought about that? The GT350 with the dual clutch transmission would have been unbelievable. You're talking about a high horsepower, not super high torque. That is right up the DSG's alley. That would have been superb for Ford to have done. Get the thing, the right transmission, send it out into the world, and just beat the living hell out of every Porsche, and insert whatever ends with an I, supercar, whatever, put that on the closed circuit. But say the GT350, the GT500, the car with the freaking root style supercharger. I know it's positive displacement, whatever. With the positive displacement supercharger, this big heavy lug sitting on top of the engine. This right here, by the way, let me tell you something, how great that is for freaking closed circuit, you jackass. That whole unit is 100 pounds. There's an extra 100 pounds sitting on there. That's not good. It's in the wrong place. If you're going to add weight, it needs to be in the middle-ish over here. It's all up front. Take your hot rod with the blower and put it out there on the drag strip with the right transmission and do what you got to do to win drag races. That's what's going to be the most important marketing that you could have ever done, was to walk all over the demon. Remember that little slip, how venom kills demons? I'll just keep sipping my Americana waiting on that to ever happen, especially when we start getting into mods, which to me is, once you start throwing extra boost, once you start throwing nitrous, once you start stripping a car down to its core components to try to save weight, you're taking away from the car. And I'm sorry, but it's just not going to do me any good to get excited about somebody's modified car going down the drag strip, especially when it's falling a little bit farther away from being recognizable as a viable street car. So anyway, it's a whole other thing. Let me catch up with you guys in the comments. Arthur's checking in saying, yeah, the 10-speed would have been just fine for the GT500 instead of a $20,000 price to replace that. And yeah, no kidding. White Knuckles choosing the 350 of the 500. Sting, not Sting. I got that. Well, depends. You might be getting stung if you buy one right now. Sam Grable saying, all someone needs to do is take the 500's motor and put it in a GT with a 10-speed. They don't even have to do that, man. You're already basically there with the GT. Throw boost at it, build a 10-speed if you blow it up and let it ride. Let's see. Sam's talking about seats there, cloth. Yep. Let's see. Arthur's saying just root supercharged GT350, save your money. The problem with that is that you run into secondary harmonics with a root cell or really any supercharger, but really with a turbo. But I know that they ran into issues with the flat plane with secondary harmonics working well with the supercharger, especially one, by the way, with this amount of an inertial load. So GT350 with turbos, good thing. GT350 with superchargers might not be the best thing. Let's see. Posner is saying Barth Tuning is offering a locked PCM tune for a 317 pulley on a Hellcat 91 octane claiming 100 horsepower. Can you explain what a locked PCM tune is and how they do it? The only thing that would be is it would be it could potentially be an intercept. Basically, it's a piggyback type setup. That would be the only thing you could do. I could throw it. You're trying to game the system at that point. And let me just tell you something. Yeah, you bring a blown up Hellcat into a dealership, assume that you don't have a warranty. I'm just going to put it out there and tell you that. It is never a good idea to try to shirk the system in that respect, especially when you're talking about, oh God, this is just so frustrating. So this 317 pulley or the incognito lower pulley has been getting a lot of play lately. I'm telling you, Dr. Diff gave me a shout the other day. He got a chance to play with another one. And to give you guys an idea, that car, this is the no tune, was pulling, what was it? It was pulling like 7 degrees of short term. Typical stock car, you'll see it pull 2 or 3 degrees. It's not uncommon at all because there's a lot of false knock with these cars. But this thing was pulling 7. You start getting into 7, it's looking a little bit less like false knock at that point. Plus, it was going into cat overtemp really early. So the guy went from, what was it, like 10 and a half or 11 pounds of boost to I think it was 12 and a half. So it picked up a couple of pounds of boost, but the problem was it had no timing in it. So the car actually lost power. That's life down here at sea level. It might work in higher elevations, but it ain't going to work like advertised down here, number one. And number two, probably more to the point, it doesn't make any sense from a common sense perspective. There's not enough room in the tune. And what I mean by that is, without getting too technical, a stock car, this car, can peg the airflow map. That's no joke. And what happens is when you peg the airflow map, nothing really bad happens. All it does is it locks out timing at that level. So the way that the tune works, God, this is going to get real boring real quick. So I'm going to try to make this quick. The way that the tune works in these cars, and this the reason why I'm doing this is to explain to you why a 317 pulley no tune is a bad effing idea. 1.5, anyway, I'm not going to get technical with this. All I'm going to say is you can peg the airflow table with the stock car at sea level at low density altitude, say around 700. What that means is that you're still metering air, you're still calculating air, but the problem that you run into is that you're not making any adjustments to timing that are off of the base map. You'll only have spark modifiers in there to either add based on a cold air charge or take away based on hot air charge and other things. So keep that in mind when you start adding more airflow. You're already pegging the airflow chart with a stock car. Let's say you peg it by this much. Now you're pegging it by that much. So what does that mean? Well, you've locked out timing, and that might be locking out timing in a lower density altitude condition, which is why you're going this much farther down this imaginary line here that you can't see, that only my brain can calculate, right? That's the issue that you run into with that pulley. And you're locking out timing. The car's throwing fuel at it based on calculated airflow, based on air density, RPM, and it knows something's not right, especially when it starts having its knock sensors go, well, something's not cool, and it starts yanking timing. So anyway, there's a bunch of reasons to not do it. Namely, there's not enough headroom in the stock tune to accommodate that pulley ratio at sea level and then at lower density altitude levels. Again, take that to Colorado, take that to the high desert in Arizona, probably have no issues up there, I'm guessing, because you're starting out at a lower density altitude. In other words, you're at like 6,000 feet, 5,000 feet, 4,000 feet. At 4,000 feet, you're losing 12% of your power. You lose 3% of your horsepower per 1,000 feet, by the way. So in knowing that, this is, yes, it's boost, but it's a belt-driven supercharger, not turbocharger. So it still is boost, but it's still shackled by the same conditions that you're running your car in. It might as well be naturally aspirated at that point. So because of that, at altitude, it works to spool it up a little bit more, and it kind of evens things out. Well, if you're already at sea level, you don't need to even things out. Your table won't allow for it, number one, and number two, they're not going to cover you if you blow your shit sky high. So something else to consider. Anyway, back to it. White Knuckles saying, yeah, torque converters multiply torque. How can you go wrong in a drag race? No kidding. Well, White Knuckles saying, dude, it's a pulley they claim you don't need a tune for. Don't do it. Yeah, that's pretty much it, especially after you see the data come back and it's White Knuckle is exactly what I would have if I saw that data on a street tune. If I saw that amount of knock retard, I would freak out. Which he did, by the way. Sam saying, time for the GT351 to come back. Alex saying, agree with you on the glove-like fit on the GT350. If they offered an automatic version, I might have bought one over my SRT 392. It's special, but it's not driving a manual as daily kind of special. No, I get it, man. And like I say, that car... the only downside to the GT350 was I think it was shackled by the gear. That car needs at least a 410 or a 430. It's just because in that car, things did not really get interesting until you were at like you're going to jail type of speeds, which isn't really a lot of fun. It's, you know, having that gear and having that RPM together. I mean, that's freaking peanut butter and jelly right there. You talk about snappy and quick and torquey and all of that, it would completely change the complexion of that car. There's a few guys that have done it, and I just don't see how more people aren't. It's crazy. Poser's saying, oh, you send your PCM to Barth Tuning and he tunes it somehow without unlocking it. If the PCM gets flashed, the tune will be lost from what I read. Maybe so. I mean, like I say, I don't know how they're getting away with it. To be honest with you, I don't even want to know. I know that what I know works, and if they're trying to do something again to shirk the system and they're going to try to say, well, it's tuned. Well, look, if it's tuned, then it's tuned, and, you know, no harm, no foul. As far as picking up a hundo, though, don't see 100 out of it. I'd see 50, maybe 60 for sure, but not 100. I mean, golly. And here we go again, man. Everybody... overhype and underdeliver is the world that we live in, it seems like nowadays. So yeah, I'm not surprised that someone would say that a baby underdrive pulley would get you 100 horsepower. It's just not going to. I'm sorry, but that's just not the way it's going to work. Arthur Wall saying it's too European talking about the GT500. Ford missed their mark. The new GT500 is just a hot Jag XKR 5-liter plus supercharged V8 coupe. That is an awesome analogy, man. I got to tell you, not only is it's too Euro and it misses the mark. And what really super sucks about this is they had a perfect, like a picture perfect opportunity with the GT350. In fact, it could have been a refresh on the GT350, a la something like this. Hey, GT350 fans, we have a DSG option for you now. It's going to cost you 15 grand, but here's a DSG. Go out there and take over the world. That would have been amazing. Or just make the GT350 with that transmission. But then again, it would make it kind of difficult to justify the cost, wouldn't it? I mean, look how expensive the GT350 is in light of the GT500. I find it a bit curious that, you know, the GT350, which is currently trading around, what, like 65? Well, if the GT500 had that transmission in it, you know, just a manual TR6060, as opposed to the the DSG. If it had the manual or the automatic, it would be coming in at probably less than the GT 350, the GT 500 would. Kind of crazy, isn't it? So by that mathematic exercise, I would say that if you bought a GT 350, you got ripped off, at least by looking at the cost of a GT 500 minus the DSG plus an automatic or a regular manual transmission. Geesh, man, now that I'm thinking about it, that GT 350 is really a ripoff because you get less of everything and it's a lesser car. I mean, 350 is less than 500, right? Something to think about. Man, GT 350 owners just get shit on left and right. And such a great car, too. I'm just too proud of them. Let's see. Arthur's saying, thought the Hellcat was twin screw. It basically is. It's an IHI, positive displacement supercharger. So as opposed to being lobes, there's a male and a female rotor, so to speak. That's all there is to it. I think one's a 4-lobe, the other one's a 5. The male is a 4-lobe, and I think the female is a 5 on these. Let's see. Cars are drinking corn. Yeah, they are. Arthur saying P. Mason facts. Poacher's saying, asking, what are your thoughts on using replica Hellcat wheels to go up in size to fit wider tires for street use, being that the replicas are cast and not forged? There you go. That answers that question. By the way, I've had these up to 150-ish miles an hour, and they are extremely stable. So I haven't had any issues with them. They're not perfect, but man, I got to tell you, I've never had any issues with replica wheels. I've run replica wheels on Mustangs. I've run them on the Hellcats, the SRT. Not ever one problem with them whatsoever. Now, I will say this. I wouldn't trust them on a closed circuit. I mean, I would want, if I'm running a sticky tire like a set of 888s or something like that, I mean, I wouldn't put them in that kind of an environment. But for street use, they're great. They're freaking awesome, actually. Hell, the first time this car went to the drag strip, it was on those wheels and tires. And it did go 10s. Bone stock full weight. Let's see. Jerry 1320 is saying you can get a Demon for less than a GT500 with all the markup. Man, I don't know if it's that close, but I tell you what, with Demon's trading at about $130 right now. I'm pretty sure, $120, $130. I'm pretty sure there's some GT500s that are trading for close to that if you're getting the full boat GT500. Racer X checking in. What up, homie? Saying, what's happening, my man? What's up, bro? The biggest issue that I've seen with that GT500, though, coming into this conversation, has been everybody that has tried to get on board and has tried to white knight for the GT500, which is adorable on one hand because you've got everybody trying to apologize for the GT500, saying, oh, well, the Mopars haven't ever done that on a stock tire, which actually is not true. There have been quite a few guys that have run 10s on stock summer tires. Keep that in the back of your mind. And that's Red Eyes too, by the way, but Hellcats have done it. So this you're reading from a book that we wrote a long time ago, Ford. But anyway, the fact of the matter is that you've got a lot of folks that are white knighting for the GT500, which again is kind of adorable in a way, only because they don't see it for the way that I see it, and the way a lot of people like me are seeing it, where it's not as good as it could have been. That's the thing that they don't get. It's the fleecing of the enthusiast in lieu of trying to win points with people that don't care about the Mustang. This is the funny thing about GT500s. or at least the folks that are apologizing for them constantly. The problem with the GT500 is that it's like this person that's trying to hook up with somebody that will never hook up with them. It's like the kid that's trying to get into the cool crowd, and the cool crowd is only using them for the pig dance. That's it. And the problem with this is that the GT500 is such an amazing car and such an amazing platform coming into the conversation. If it only had the right transmission, it would be the bully on the block. But right now, it's the baby Huey on the block. Everybody's making fun of it because it's not living up to any real potential, because its potential has been shot down in the womb at this point. I mean, this thing is born stupid with that dumbass transmission that is overpriced, overly complicated, doesn't cater to the true grassroots enthusiast drag racer. A car, by the way, with drag mode. Okay? Don't tell me it's not a freaking drag car. All right? All of those things combined lead me to want to, if I had any hair left, pull my hair out. As a Ford fan, as somebody who grew up learning engines and learning engine math, learning camshaft design theory and everything else based around Ford engines, now I've got to look at Ford going, you just damn near had it. You would have been the badass. Once again, you'd have changed the game to the point where it would have forced Mopar to reevaluate what they were going to do to stay on top. Chevrolet's already checking out, at least if you believe the rumors. There is no Z06 slated for release anytime soon. All you got is the C8 that's on the way with that, which isn't even a competitor in this situation, or at least it wouldn't be. But here we go. Let's kind of reset the clock here and remember that if it weren't for the GT500, and if it weren't for the Termi Cobra, and if it weren't for the Lightning, we might not have Hellcats in all of their derivatives, which, you know, if the Dodge will put a Hellcat into pretty much anything that'll accept it, the Red Eye, the Demon, the ZL1, the new GT500, these cars wouldn't exist without Ford carrying the torch that far. So bottoms up, Ford. Good job. The issue is that there's not enough enthusiasts left in Ford. Did they just get bored? Did they get confused? Did they forget who they are? Did they forget what kind of game that they're playing? No, just the dumb kid trying to be a cool kid. Just the joke. Just the person that everybody's going to forget. And that's the problem here, is that they're trying to play a game that they're already set up to fail at. It's not a good look at all, Ford. You could have won the fight easily. I mean, we're talking sucker punch, walk out, straight right, bam, game over, knockout. Instead, you went out like a freaking fool. And that's the saddest part about it, is that you got people buying into it and making every apology that they can. Look how fast it is on stock tires. Oh my God, it ran a 10 on stock tires. What? That's the sad thing. It went a 10 on stock tires. And if you put a drag pack on the car, it doesn't go any faster because it won't 60 foot any better than like a 160 something, which in this game is slow. Every excuse, every apology, every point that's made to the GT500 only furthers every thought that I have about that car, is that it's so far below what it could be, what it should have been, what it could have been. Anyway, back to the comments. Let's see. Rip's checking in saying, Rip. Scat's checking in saying, finally installed that Fastman 84mm throttle body on my car, and dang, man, it's very noticeable improvement. Very nice. Yeah, Fastman makes a great product. Arthur Wall saying, golden information beat, got the thumbs up. Thank you very much. Let's see. Rip's asking, how much harder is it going to be for me to hook up on the street with the 309 gears? I went and bought it finally, but a bit worried that I'm going to have a hard time getting traction the way that I drive. First of all, you don't have traction now, so don't worry about it one way or another. And secondly, it's not that big of a deal. You really won't notice a difference until you start showering into the throttle a little bit more. In fact, you might notice it is a little bit softer. And some guys actually prefer that. So don't worry about it. You're already at a traction deficit. A little bit less traction isn't going to do anything but make the car more fun. At least it did, in my opinion. You're going to launch it, drive it, do everything the exact same way that you're doing it now. But the car is going to be stronger, especially when you get that 4-5 shift, and the way that it pulls in fifth gear, it will be noticeably stronger at that point. Fast Man's checking in. I got the fist bump. Late to the party, but I made it. I like it. Riff saying, I went 1080 on replica wheels in my Hellcat. They're actually definitely worth it. Yeah, in fact, I did the same thing. I went 1087, I think, on this car's. No, I went 1092 was the car's second pass. It spun on the first hit. Or did it spin? No, I soft launched it on the first hit. It went 1090 and then went 1080s for the rest of the night. So, yeah, bone stock, full weight. Rips is asking, will I be able to install the 309 gears myself, or is it something you need a lift for? You don't need a lift for it, but you will need friends. And I will suggest a couple of buddies to help you with that. White Knuckle is saying, I know what the problem is with a Ford. They hired Greta. Hey, maybe. Might be half the problem. Let's see. Joey's saying, hey, Mason, quick question. Should I do 390 gears or 309 gears because I'm still on my daily driver? I need that extra punch. I'm already running the 392 cam and rebuilt top end with my 5.7. Go with the 309 in that. If you've got an 8-speed, go with the 309. You'll be in good shape with that. You've got a tweener there with the 370, which is the manual Hellcat gear. The issue with that, though, is that, bro, they are pricey. But stick with the 309. 390 is going to be a little bit much with that setup, I'm afraid, with the 8-speed. Joey's saying, also have the Corsa headers in a Corsa cat bag. Good stuff. Dr. Div's checking in and said, hey, B, I am ready for Texas 2K. Yeah, so word to the wise, you crazy motherfuckers, you. If y'all are going to be coming to H-Town for Texas 2K, couple of things to remember. This is my public service announcement, okay? First things first, guys. You got narcs everywhere right now. And they are all going to be all over the place. So just watch out for that. If you're going to be doing any trips to Mexico, I suggest you get way the hell out of town to do it, because they are not messing around down here, especially during 2K. We've had probably 3 or 4 years worth of quite a bit of police activity during 2K down here. So we don't need guys running 180, 190 miles an hour down I-10. If you're caught, you will get popped. Your car will get confiscated. It will either get auctioned or crushed, or they'll give you an option to be a narc, and in that case, you're a fucking narc. So, but yeah, there are some pretty high-level narcs running around too. Don't think that just because they're running around in something ruckus, that they're not narking. So, word to the wise, guys. Just letting you know. Jason's asking, can I expect decent horsepower gains from installing 6.4 intake manifold, BBK throttle body, and 6.4 airbox with K&N? I have the 5.7 currently. Yes, you can. As a matter of fact, that is a very good modification, provided that you have access to well, basically, you're going to need an actuator for your short runner valve. A window switch works great. I believe it's a 5-volt source. And, but yeah, you're going to need to be able to actuate that window switch, hit that thing at about 4,800 RPM, and you'll be in good shape. Actually, no, on the 5.7, you probably want to hit that at about 5,200, 5,300. But you will pick up power. The 5.7 is a superior intake manifold to the car intake manifold, without a doubt. Let's see. Joey's saying, thanks for the help. No problem, man. Happy to help. Talking about that gear. Let's see. Rip is saying, if I can get out of work, I'll drive to Texas 2K from Cali. Also going to say, I'm thinking about just doing a lower pulley on the Hellcat instead of an upper. That way I can get it keyed pinned at the same time. I get more power. Yes, that is probably the best way to go about it. And the other thing is you don't have to get nutty with it. With these cars, the Hellcats are easy to get power out of. That's both their blessing and their curse. Pretty much any of these cars are easy to get power out of. My personal suggestion, keep it at or around 13 pounds of boost, basically 14 as a cap. A 285 upper will get you somewhere in the range of 16 pounds, which is kind of working on a borderline just with the weight of the car, cylinder pressure, things like that for 93 octane. Timing, you don't want to have to shade the car on timing because you're worried about fuel quality. Just run a proper tune. And to do that, I would say, a Innovators West lower will put you pretty much right where you need to be. You can go with the ATI, get you a little bit more boost, but it just depends on your elevation. But either way you go, I mean, you're looking at a 10.0 or a 990 car. So, and that's a pretty safe setup too, by the way. In fact, it's real safe. Drag pack, that setup, go out and run 9s. Done deal. Let's see. Jason Brown, asking about, the window switch. You can get that pretty much anywhere. I mean, that's just going to be, it's a generic window switch. A lot of guys use them for nitrous kits. So nitrous works or anything like that can probably square you away on that. Rip saying 10% ATI lower is what he was thinking. Yep, that's probably the best way to go on that one. Again, if you're at altitude, really any of them are fine. I would err on the side of caution and go with Innovators West. But that's just me. Alex is asking, why do you never see 2019 Scat Packs with the adaptive dampers unless they have the wide body kit? I know the dampers were a factory option. A lot of folks just don't get them. So I don't know. Can't answer that question. It's an SRT thing, I think. Is it raining again down here? Golly, man. Here we go again with that. Let's see. Rip's asking, only have 91 octane gas here, so I'm going to have to get some 109 and mix it with the 91. Yeah, I mean, if you're planning on pulling the thing, my thing is always err on the side of caution, especially when you're dealing with fuel quality. I'm not saying that you can't get away with something on 91, but what I am saying is that it's a lot easier to get away with something if it's already of a higher quality, basically like race gas or E85. If you can get away with that, you'll be in a whole lot better shape. But if you're stuck with 91 and E85 really isn't an option, then I would keep that extra boost to a minimum, and your tune's going to be a little bit soft anyway to accommodate that. And he goes on to say, my ideal situation would be to go with the 85, but it's so expensive to set the car up for it. Yeah, it is. And that's part of the issue. I mean, pay to play, right? That cliche. I will say this, though. The guys that have made the switch to E85, when you talk to them, most of them will tell you that they wouldn't go back. They were like, nah, love E85. It's the shit. I would never want to go back. This is the way that I'm going to go. And the reason why they say that is, yeah, the initial cost is high, but they've got this certain peace of mind that even when the 85 is bad, it's still better than 91 octane. So it's a very tuner friendly fuel. In fact, it's real friendly, just in its knock resistance. So yeah, you lose range. It's a bit of a pain in the ass to find. There's some things that you have to kind of deal with when it comes to E85. But the one thing that you don't have to worry about typically is knock or running too much boost, low DAs or anything like that. It's just basically race gas at the pump. So definitely a good thing. Rick's asking, what all do you need to go to E85 on a Hellcat? Well, you need a lot, actually. So this is what I would do. If I were to convert my car to E85, it would be injected engineering, dual pumps. That would be the first thing, because you have to feed the car. It's going to cost you about 30% more in fuel to run E85. That's why you have to run the dual pumps. Injected Engineering has a perfect kit for that. They're E85 compatible, meaning that they're ethanol compatible, which you got to have because ethanol is corrosive. But anyway, Injected Engineering pumps, I would go with Fuel One or Fuel Injector Connection 127-pound fuel injectors. From there, you're going to need pulleys and a tune and everything else. But just leading into it, that's, as far as hard parts go, that's pretty much all you need. From there, it's a tune on E85. Now, I know there's some folks saying, by the way, that they've got flex fuel all figured out. I'm not convinced of that just yet. HP Tuners is still working on their end-all be-all kit, I guess you could say, or at least operating system that will accommodate that. But so far as I've seen, I think Livernois had a setup for maybe Trackhawks or something like that. Did not work very well. At least when I saw it in action, it was pretty bad. So there's that. But realistically, either way, if you want to run E85, you've got to have the injectors and you've got to have the pumps. Let's see. Them boys checking in saying, yo, man, how you doing? Man, I'm doing good. Hope you're doing as well. So getting back, oh, hang on. Let's see. Riff's asking, why can't they use the same flex fuel system that Ford uses? Obviously not the exact same, but the same idea on how it works. That's a great question. I would be asking, why can't they use the same system that GM uses? They use an actual sensor. It works way better. I will say this, that the problem, this is where the flex fuel thing gets a little bit wonky. So if you don't know how certain flex fuel systems work, they work off of the knock sensor. They basically will add timing until they see knock, they'll reduce knock, and then that's where they'll leave the timing mark. Well, the problem is that in tuning Mopars, Chevrolets, Fords, whatever, you're jacking with the, this is so funny too. So you're messing with the knock sensor sensitivity. Actually, you're taking sensitivity out of it to get rid of some of the false knock. Well, when you do that, it messes with the computer's ability to be able to change the timing based on knock perceived to be there because of a fuel quality issue. It's basically how the demons see the quote unquote, see the higher octane. It's not, there's not a sensor in there. It's doing this off of knock. So again, it's what makes it difficult. You can't just change the tune and change certain parameters. There's a portion of the parameters that you need to change in the tune when you start to pulley these things up because they start making more racket. That racket pisses off the knock sensors, which makes them think the thing's got knocked, so it starts yanking timing. It does that anyway from the factory, but if you pulley them, it's even worse. Now, if you make the adjustments, it's going to be numb. It's not going to know that it's got gasoline in it because the knock sensors aren't getting sent off, so it starts trying to throw all this timing at gasoline. So then you have real knock that it's not even picking up on, or it does pick up on it, and it yanks all the timing out, and it goes into minor freak out mode and starts yanking 7 or 8 degrees of timing. Dogs and cats sleeping together, man, it just turns into a big mess. So that's the reason why it's a little bit more complicated than just changing the operating system, because I can tell you that even in HP Tuner software, all the provisions are in there for flex fuel to swap everything over and to make it run as a flex fuel vehicle. Thing is it doesn't work like that. At least not in the real world, not yet anyway. And well, I should say at least not through HP. Somebody else may have it figured out, but I just haven't seen it in action and I haven't seen it actually work. Dr. Div is asking or saying offer 85 kit for a pretty good setup, dual Walbro 450s, and a boost regulator, but it works good. Hellcat coming back for it next week. Very nice. Let's see. Foreman's asking, what's your opinion on Diablo Sport Trinity tuner? Man, it's really not for me, man. It's very limited in its scope that you can do with it. If you're going to do something like that, you've already got a laptop. Go HP tuners and just learn the software. And I get that a lot of guys don't want to take the time to do that or don't have the time to do that, but the Trinity, it's cool for data logging, or at least it's cool for monitoring. Let me just put it that way. But for doing anything else with it, it's not that awesome. I mean, it's a nice vehicle for, importing and exporting tunes, but that's really the only thing I would say is great, to be honest with you. But again, for monitoring, in fact, I still have my Trinity, and it works great for monitoring, especially knock retard. Let's see. Oh, Jason's talking about that unlocked PCM thing. Let's see. Rich is saying, I bought the Trinity 2 X tuner and some tunes from Hemi Fever, so I hope that works for starters before I go HP tuners. Yeah, give it a shot. SRT Nate's asking, will you make it out to We Are Mopar? I haven't got that far yet in my schedule, so I don't know. I'd like to, though. I would love to, as a matter of fact. That would be one I would love to go to. But we'll see, man. Fingers crossed. See if I can make that one. But at any rate, so that's the late show. We're coming up on an hour, and I got to check out because I got to wake up with the Amish, and I'm already going to be hurting tomorrow. What with, the time change and everything. We got one more question. R Drive's asking, great show, Mr. Mason. With your recommendation, Moss for 392, if I add your cam package from Pikes Performance, will the HP70 trans be to the limit? No, your transmission will be well within its limits with that camshaft. I wouldn't hit it with nitrous, but you'll be well within your limits with that camshaft. Let's see. Dr. Diff. Say, yeah, I got to, man. That one with my and the white bro. Dude, what is with your comments, bro? Oh, man. All right, guys. We're going to wrap it up here at an hour. I hope everybody has an awesome week coming up. Just remember, I think it's Friday the 13th this year. Watch out for all the crazies. If you're coming to 2K, watch out for all the narcs. And that is a wrap on this one, guys. Y'all have a great one. We'll catch you on the next one. Adios.